Namaste. I see the divine in you as you see the divine in me. Namaste. And isn't this the most beautiful way to learn to greet each other in the divine love and learning to understand that we are on the road to becoming divine love consciousness if we desire to grow into the divine love. Welcome to the times of the great revelations taking place, when the great aligner CAEAYARON is here to take us to the higher truth of all of divine love. He always promised us in ancient Lemuria, when the great fall of consciousness was happening, that he would return again to bring us upwards into the love. At that time, many of us as Lemurians, and we saw the great fall happening, did not know how CAEAYARON was going to do that, as we were in great confusion ourselves, because the great majority of the Lemurians chose for the great darkness. So they created the darkness within themselves. And we cried, and many of us were in great tears because we did not know how we were going to return to the love dimensions after losing all the codes to returning home. All through these times of human love consciousness growing within our hearts again, we've been able to explore what great love was within our hearts, slowly and steadily. When the darkness took all the love within us away from the humans, slowly we were able to grow back into the love rays. Very, very slowly this has happened. And now, because enough love is within us, the great CAEAYARON can call us back. So it is now our opportunity to show the great divine whether we truly desire to rise back into the love, or whether the pain of Lemuria became so great within us that we will reject his everlasting ways of great love. For myself as a channel of divine love, I totally trust what CAEAYARON is doing and speaking about with the people at this time, as I know that all ways are of the highest love. And when he speaks to us, and when Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great speaks to us, they know what they're saying, and they know the questions that spark off because of the teachings, and they want us to go deeper into the thought processes, deeper into the understanding, and also deeper into our own reasoning as to why we desire to rise up into the great love or not. So all this takes time within ourselves. So what I'm going to do before I close my eyes and allow you to listen to the divine teachings this evening, I'm going to read out the forgiveness statement, which we all need to practice so much in our lives, in our daily lives. And the activated of CAEAYARON are given forgiveness codes to allow us to forgive even greater. And the activated of CAEAYARON are taught how to do this, and how to do this daily as part of our daily routine to bring us into greater grounding, into greater love rays, into greater love consciousness with the other Star Sacred World Healers. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to be quiet and allow Divine to teach. CAEAYARON, I bring you now into my spaces of love and healing. I ask for your presence and for your love to be with me at this time. I forgive all that has caused my pain to happen. I release it now. I allow the angels to take it away for me. I bring in the love and the peace, and I desire to understand more joy and self-love. I surround myself with the highest loving divine beings who are here to take care of me. I let go of all fear within me. I release it. I trust that all things are perfect as they are. I'm ready to love myself and all of life more. Thank you, CAEAYARON. Thank you, great divine love. Excuse me for a moment. Namaste, and thank you very much for watching. Greetings, dear brothers and sisters, dear sons and daughters in the light. I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. Blessed is the one who is constantly asking for the greater teachings to come to your plane through divine love. Happy is the one who seeks divine love within, for they are certainly the ones that can be guided upwards. Happy is the one who desires to understand how to grow into the great love consciousness of all times. Welcome to the times of the great teachings. And I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, am guiding the people upwards together with my great mountain of light, the great CAEAYARON, who I have created to give to you life, consciousness, and the great keys of all of life existence. And at this time, I am blessing my great designated Ascension Channel, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, for being so dedicated and faithful to the great love of my being Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. As I have tested her out thoroughly in all lifetimes. If I were going to ask the listeners the same question, how have you been doing in all human lifetimes? Were you one that was able to state, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, I have been faithful to divine will in all lifetimes? How would you answer that? Would you be able to state that within your heart, or would you not know? And here I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, will state that no one has been as faithful and dedicated to the great divine will other than the divine love element, divine love ascension channel, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, who was also the great Jesus 2,000 years ago, when the wisdom of my being, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, came flowing through the mouth of Jesus, as is in your days. 2,000 years later. But in this day it is not Jesus that has come back in the form as he was, but in a more beautiful form, a woman, a loving woman, the divine love element, feminine essence, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel, and I have gifted her my name of Emmanuel. Why? Because she was created by the great divine to bring through the divine love consciousness, and no one else can bring out these teachings. No one else can speak of Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great and how great I am. No one else can bring through teachings of the great separation taking place at this time. No one else can speak of the great CAEAYARON like she can, because she is the divine ascension channel, the messenger, the word, and no one else can speak of the divine pineal gland activations, the great healings of the great CAEAYARON at this time, for it is not their information to have. For this information only belongs to the one who is the road, the way, and the gateway upwards. And that one is honored to bring through the highest teachings. No one else upon your plane is designated to do that task, and no one else will do that task. For only one has been faithful to the great divine love in all of our lifetimes, not only on your human planet, but also on all other planets, in all other ways. Can you state that you are faithful in all your lifetimes? It is indeed the right of the designated channel to bring through my divine words as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, and be stated to be the greatest, most beautiful channel and the word in all of universal love consciousness. However, I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, am so much loved that I have sent my great divine channel to your planet to bring through the words of my wisdom. And here I will also speak of the great CAEAYARON also. For the love in the universe was so great that all love desired you to rise back upwards to the great love. And how was that going to happen if only one could come to your planet? The one beloved one in all the universes, most beloved one in all the universes, came to your human consciousness to build the love within the human race once again, to show the teachings of the great divine will, because no one else could bring these teachings through. The one who was burned and persecuted and treated so severely because it is the love that the people rejected so much, and in Jesus' time she was crucified so greatly because the people did not desire the love of divine within their hearts. I, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, state that there has been no greater one in all the universes to bring through the teachings of the great divine love. My love for the people is so great that you cannot understand it. How can you understand the great divine love of the great universe? For no one has that privilege truly to come back to the great love except for the sending of the great channel, who was able to balance all things with the greatest gift of all, that being the violet flame, gifted to bring all balance back within the human race, to allow you to awaken to this time, to allow you to rise up. And yet so many people claim to my being Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, we have the right to rise to the higher love dimensions. This was also stated to my channel Jesus 2,000 years ago. Jesus, they stated, how come you speak of the higher road? The difference between the wide road and the narrow road. You state that only those who find love within their hearts can rise up to the great mansions of the great divine. And yet our spiritual leaders state that all can attain to that greatness as long as they abide to the laws of their writings. Jesus stated, by whose laws do you live? Do you live by the laws of Caesar? Do you live by the laws of your spiritual leaders? Or do you live by the divine will, who states that you must love with all your heart? For it is that will create the great love within you. For how can you find that greater path when no love is within you? You may state that you do all things to glorify the Great Father, but only the Great Father knows who is truly within the heart. For most display the great acts. Look at me, how great and wonderful I am, as the great spiritual leaders do on their podiums in their preaching houses, and yet the great divine Father may say to them, get away from me, you workers of untruth. How can you even state that you're working in the love when no love is within you? For whose glory are you seeking? Your own glory or the glory of the great love? Many people turned away and walked away that day. Pooh, Jesus, we do not want to listen to that. We want to listen to our spiritual leaders saying how great we will become. And we don't want to go onto your little road, which is hard as far as we are concerned. So, why am I bringing this out as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great? Because many people claim the same ways. They see the great CAEAYARON and the great divine love element and my being Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, and they say, "Pooh, great divine love, we do not want to listen to you. We do not want to seek the great divine will. We would rather stay within our own beliefs, thinking that we are divine, thinking that we are God, stating how glorious we are and that we don't need to have the great will to be able to bring us upwards. Yet I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, state, be very careful, dear ones, because it is only through the great love that you can rise upwards. For no one is worthy of rising upwards except the one who has been the most faithful upon your plane. And the only one that has been the most faithful upon your plane and in all other lifetimes has gifted so much to your human beings, to your people, to give the violet flame to you, to allow you to rise upwards. It is your great privilege to be able to rise upwards, not your right, because your rights were lost a long time ago, dear ones. However, for those ones who do come to the great mountain of CAEAYARON with the great activations, they do have the right to have the great access upwards in the great dimensions because of the great promise and because the great CAEAYARON has cleansed them, and I also, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, have gifted them with the great purification flames so that no fault can be seen within them. However, they still need to work in the great love and demonstrate great love growing within them, as all things must always be investigated. They certainly are the privileged ones. Jesus also stated these same things to the people, even though the way wasn't clear for them as how they could rise to the people. He stated these teachings. The great Father sees the heart, and he decides who will rise to the great mansions of all the glory and the love, and he will decide who will feast with him in the great heavens. For he has built the great mansions for eternal freedom. And this is why it is stated that great truth will always set you free. Free from all limitation, free from all thoughts of existence of being small. For in those mansions you will see how great you are. In the great Father's eyes, no imperfection exists because all who dwell in union with the great Father is perfect. And you will also see that when you are in the great mansions of the great Father. Not everyone will be able to go to the great mansion of the great Father, for it is only those who will demonstrate the great love within their heart. And this is why it is always important to go and investigate the heart and what is within the heart, because all keys of the everlasting kingdom is within your heart. It is not outside of yourself, it is within you. And you must discover it within yourself. And when you hear the Great Father speaking to you, go into the silence of yourself and ask, Great Lord, what is it you would like me to do? And the Great Lord will say, Great little one, begin to listen to the divine will. Begin to desire the great love within you. And when I call you as the Great Father, then come and lift your torch up of light and desire it within all your heart. Then at that time of the great calling, do not stay asleep, but stay awake and be ready to listen. And when I, as the Great Father, call you, then I'm going to ask you, will you state, Here I am, Lord, send me to do the great gathering work of the people, because at that time the field will be ripe. It will be great for the gathering, and then many will gather to the great mountain of healing, and they will shelter within the great love, and they will be fattened in pastures of greenness. But for all others who do not desire to shelter in the great mountain of light, they will hunger, for they will not be spiritually nourished. For it is only the people who are awake to the Great Father upon his great return who will find that shelter within the great mountain of light, and will become fattened in all the greatness of all the spiritual treasures. And it is those who will join the Great Father within the great mansions. For only the ones who desire the fattening to take place of spiritual nourishment will be able to be ready to grow into the next state of love within their heart. For the ones who reject the great teachings of the Great Father and are spiritually nourished, how can they have the great love within their heart? These were the same teachings that Jesus brought through. And for those ones who have desired to understand the great teachings of divine at this time, they will be able to follow how similar the teachings are of Jesus, and how it all fits into a beautiful state of union with my being, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, and the great CAEAYARON, and the great divine love element. Can shelter be found outside of my being, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, through my designated channel, Suzanna Maria Emmanuel? Well, I will state that anyone outside of this special union and do not desire the great gateway upwards with my great mountain of light, especially assigned for the great gathering work and the great love to come within the people upon your planet who desire to shelter within his great self, I will state as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, no, there is no other way, for they are spiritually nourished. And when one is spiritually nourished out inside of the great healing mountain, then they are not part of the outside. And the ones who are outside, spiritually not nourished, spiritually hungry, then they cannot be part of the spiritually nourished ones. So the spiritually undernourished beings, the people, are not part of the ones who will rise upwards into the great love. So I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, am separating the ones, and the ones who are spiritually nourished are not part of the spiritually undernourished, and the spiritually undernourished ones are not part of the spiritually nourished one, and there is a great separation taking place, and the ones who are spiritually undernourished cannot rise into the great love, because they have no love within them. And I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, will guide the ones who are in the great mountain of light and are spiritually being nourished at this time and will become more spiritually nourished. So please do understand that this is happening at this time. So is there another way upwards? No, I will state as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, there is no other way upwards. Only the ones that are within the healing plane and within the spiritual paradox of nourishment can go upwards, and the other ones who are undernourished cannot, as they are separated from the great love. Greetings, I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great.
Greetings.